Please be seated. Chancellor, Lord Provost, Regent, members of court, members of the General Council, members of the Senate, honorary graduates, guests, students and colleagues. A very warm welcome to this special celebration of achievement. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tim O'Shea, Principal and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Edinburgh. For the University, this is a very special day. It's very special because our Chancellor is with us and she has visited and opened the Anne Rowling Neurodegenerative Neurology Clinic. She's opened the Edinburgh Centre for Carbon Innovation. She's visited the School of Divinity, but it's a especially good day for the University of Edinburgh because in the middle of opening these openings, we heard the wonderful news about Peter Higgs being awarded the very well-deserved Nobel Prize in Physics. So an extraordinarily good day for us. For some of you, this might be your first time in this great building, the McEwan Hall. It's a landmark in the city and a key part of the university. It was opened in 1897 as our special place for graduations. I don't know a finer purpose-built graduation hall in the world. We're very indebted to Sir William McEwan, the MP and successful brewer, who decided to fund the building of this magnificent hall. For many of our students, it is also, in some sense, in terms of the idea of it, especially important, because it is funded entirely by profits from the sale of beer. What are we doing today? We're awarding honorary degrees of people of great importance to us. This practice started in 1695, and it's a tradition that's become very much an important part of our university life. Very many distinguished people have had such honorary degrees. Recently, they've included Tolkien, Desmond Tutu and Pele. They included Winston Churchill, included Mendeleev, quite an extraordinary galaxy of people. You will see later in the ceremony that at our university, we confer degrees by capping our graduates with a velvet bonnet. We're informed that it is made out of the velvet breeches of John Knox, and that would make it over 400 years old, and also make a very nice connection to your visit to the School of Divinity today, ma'am. In fact, we were admiring the wonderful statue of John Knox earlier in the day. We're really delighted that our Chancellor, the Princess Royal, is here to cap our distinguished graduates. She has worked very hard. We've had 3 events before this. There's another event after this graduation ceremony, and I'm tremendously appreciative of all the time and support she's given the university. So please join me in applauding her. I now call upon Professor Peter Higgins, Professor of Outdoor and Environmental Education, to present a candidate for an honorary degree.
Madam Chancellor, in the name and by the authority of the Senatus Academicus, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, Judy Murray. To most of the UK, and indeed many overseas, Judy is a face in a crowd. But not just any crowd. A very particular and rather small crowd, that of the tennis court. She is instantly recognisable, and yet rarely does the viewing public hear her speak. Why is she so well known? Well, we all know that she's a mum to a rather well-known tennis player, and his almost as well-known brother, Andy and Jamie Murray. But whilst this is the reason she's a household name, it does not do justice to Judy's personal achievements as a competitor, as a coach, and as a member of her community in Dunblane. There are many who will remember Judy as a highly talented competitor. She joined Dunblane Tennis Club at the age of 10 and flourished with the support of her parents, Karen and Roy Erskine, who are both county tennis players and are here with us this evening. As a teenager in the 70s, she became the best female tennis player in Scotland, winning 64 Scottish titles from junior to senior level, and at one stage was ranked 8th in Britain. In the period 1978 to 1981, Judy studied for her degree in business studies at the University of Edinburgh and represented the university in both tennis and badminton. And in 1981, she represented Britain at the World Student Games in Bucharest. Like many of our students today, she found it necessary to supplement her income, and she did so through tennis coaching, having gained her first qualification at the age of 17. Coaching and parenthood soon became the twin themes of Judy's life. She started working as a volunteer coach at Dunblane Sports Club when Jamie and Andy were toddlers. She ran primary school and high school tennis teams, junior club teams, and a squad training program, and she organised several open junior and senior tournaments. She made a strong commitment to coaching at all levels, and in 1994 she became the first woman to gain the Lawn Tennis Association's highest qualification, the Performance Coach Award. In 2001, her overall contribution was recognised when she was named Lawn Tennis Association Coach of the Year. After a period as Central District Coach, Judy became the Scottish national coach in 1995 when she established a national development school for 8 to 11-year-olds. Her skills in both talent identification and coaching are evident in that of the 20 children identified in 1994, 5 went on to become full-time tennis players, and 4 of the 5 represented Britain in the 2012 Olympics. In 2011, Judy became the British Federation Cup captain, and under her leadership, the women's team has gone from strength to strength, leading to World Group playoffs in both 2012 and 2013. During this period, she managed to find time to do some coaching with the family, but by 2003, it became obvious that despite their talents, her 2 sons needed more help, and Judy relinquished her post as national coach to concentrate on Jamie and Andy's careers. As you may have noticed, both have gone on to do quite well, with Jamie winning the Wimbledon mixed doubles in 2007 and Andy the men's singles this year. Both have represented Britain in the Olympics in Beijing and then London, with Andy winning gold in singles and silver in the mixed doubles. Both have represented Britain many times in the Davis Cup, and Jamie represented Scotland in the 2010 Commonwealth Games in Delhi. However, whilst Judy has always seen the link between grassroots coaching and elite sport, she's never lost sight of the value of physical activity for all. She is passionate about taking tennis into schools and parks in areas of social deprivation, and has been involved in a number of projects to resurface or introduce tennis courts into public parks across the UK. She is a patron of Tennis for Free, which lobbies local authorities to give free access to park courts to make tennis more accessible to everyone. Whilst Judy is widely admired for being an inspiring role model for encouraging sport at all levels and contributing significantly to increased levels of participation in tennis, especially amongst women, she remains committed to her local community, where she continues to be an active coach. She's also contributing to a project to build a community-based tennis and golf centre near Dunblane, which would provide affordable and accessible sport to families in the local area. It would also serve as a coach education centre where Judy can share her 25 years' experience with the many new coaches she has inspired. The great Scots polymath, Sir Patrick Geddes, who was a member of staff at this university in the late 19th century, said, "Better to do no teaching at all than without the passion for the subject." Undoubtedly, he would have recognized this in Judy. She exudes a passion for coaching that burns brightly and is in itself an inspiration to others. Madam Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to confer on Judy Murray the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa.
Madam Chancellor, Senator of the University, thank you so much for giving me this award. It's 33 years since I got my degree at the University of Edinburgh, and this one is a whole lot grander and a whole lot easier. No studying required. I haven't got too much to say because I've got a feeling that you've heard it all, and I've actually got a feeling that I might cry. Thank you.
I call upon the Edinburgh University Singers, conducted by Dr. John Kitchen, University organist, to perform A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square and I Got Rhythm. Thank you very much, singers. Thank you very much, Dr. Kitchen. That was quite entrancing. Thank you. I call upon University Vice Principal, Professor Chris Brouard, Principal of Edinburgh College of Art, to present a candidate for an honorary degree.
Madam Chancellor, in the name and by the authority of the Senatus Academicus, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, Lynne Ramsay. We need to talk about Lynne. As one of our foremost independent film directors, screenwriters and cinematographers, Lynne achieved her most recent acclaim for her adaptation of Lionel Shriver's novel, We Need to Talk About Kevin, starring Tilda Swinton in 2011, when it received the award for Best Film at the London Film Festival and a nomination in 2012 for a BAFTA. But Lynne's contribution stretches back a further 15 years or so to her training in photography at Napier University, Edinburgh, and her subsequent graduation as a cinematographer from the UK National Film and Television School in 1995. Her graduation film, the short Small Deaths, won the 1996 Cannes Prix de Jury. And her second film, Kill the Day, was also honoured with the Clermont-Ferrand Prix de Jury, and her third, Gasman, won her another Cannes Prix de Jury and a Scottish BAFTA. But it was Ratcatcher of 1999, Lynne's debut feature, that first brought her to wide critical acclaim. Its bleak but beautifully filmed vision of life on a Glasgow estate during the refuse collectors' strike of 1973, seen through the eyes of a 12-year-old boy, is both unflinching and poetic in its rendering of memory and history, captured in the moment when one of the kids in the film sends his pet mouse to the moon on the string of a balloon. It was rightly recognised in the award of the Guardian New Directors Prize, the Carl Foreman Award for Newcomer in British Film at the 2000 BAFTA Awards, the Sutherland Trophy at the London Film Festival, and the Silver Hugo for the Best Director at the Chicago International Film Festival. Lynne's insight is unique, but she strikes a common chord for those of us who grew up in the 1960s and 1970s, when she says of her formative influences, "I wasn't a film buff, although later on I realised my mum was, because she watched all the Douglas Kirk stuff. I didn't know who he was, but I saw Imitation of Life about 10 times. I think we've all been there. She was into that Hollywood Betty Davies stuff. The first experience I had of being shocked by cinema was seeing Fassbinder's The Fear That Eats Your Soul in a theatre in Glasgow when I was 17, and then also Blue Velvet. I thought it was incredible, like a revolution." And Lynne's work too is revolutionary. She knows how to use the power of visual storytelling. She is uncompromising and dedicated to capturing the intimate, visceral details of life so that her films become felt experiences. Her images capture our memories in fleeting but precious moments. As our own head of film and television at Edinburgh College of Art puts it, she knows how to frame the image better than any director, apart from maybe Bresson, and understands that the story is in what is left out, not what is put in. So, thank you, Lynne, for your achievements. Your creative approach provides a worthy benchmark for our staff and students. And as a woman director in an industry still dominated by men, you are an inspiration. Along with our former Edinburgh honoraries, cameraman Seamus McGarvey and producer Sir David Putnam, we can see that we are surely pulling together a dream film crew. Lynne Ramsay as fantasy director is a stunning addition to that team. It's an honor to have you with us. Let's keep talking about Lynne for many years and many, many films to come. Madam Chancellor, I now invite you to confer on Lynne Ramsay the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa.
Wow. Madam Chancellor, Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I'd just like to say thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, and the choir, I'd just like to say thank you for this honour. I don't know what to say after that. Thank you so much. I always wanted to attend this university. I never did, but now I feel I have. And I just want to encourage the students as well. I mean, I've been all over the world in my job. It's been a wonderful job. I've been to Cannes, Los Angeles, all the places that sound very glamorous. But I must say that the best years of my life were spent in Edinburgh, being a student sometimes, being in the pub sometimes, but really having fun and really, meeting such extraordinary people and teachers. And I just hope you guys do well. This is going to be the best time for you guys, and best of luck, really. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Call upon Dr. Olivia Giles, Chief Executive of the 500 Miles Charity, to present a candidate for an honorary fellowship.
Madam Chancellor, in the name and by the authority of the Senatus Academicus, I have the privilege to present for the award of an honorary fellowship, Susie Wolff. 12 years ago, across Bristol Square in the former business school, a second-year undergraduate faced a dilemma that few her age could even dream of. A crossroads was approaching for Susie Stoddart, a bright MA student in international business, who also happened to be one of British motorsport's rising stars. Balancing the workload of a demanding course with a lifelong passion for racing was becoming increasingly difficult for this gifted young driver from Oban. Having been named the world's top female racing kart driver in her first year at Edinburgh, two roads diverged before her. One meant Susie continuing with full-time study, the other turning her pastime into a profession. Susie took the road less travelled, choosing a career path into a male-dominated sport renowned as a highly competitive and cutthroat environment. Her subsequent track success suggests that motorsport was indeed the perfect course. Today, now known by her married name, Susie Wolff, she is on the cusp of making racing history as she bids to become only the third woman and first Briton to take part in a Formula One championship race. Her Director of Studies, Professor David Marshall, vividly recalls the choice that Susie had to make in 2001. He said, "Susie and I agreed on an interruption of studies so that she could see how her first year in professional racing progressed. She has not looked back since. We should not be surprised at the progress she has made. Susie Wolff virtually inherited her passion for motorsport. Even as a child, she accompanied her parents, who have a motorcycle shop, to different racetracks. She completed her very first laps in a fun cart at the age of 8, and by 14, she had already claimed top spots at European and international levels. Having been named the world's top racing kart driver in 2000, Susie has risen through the motorsport ranks, successfully taking part in Formula Renault and Formula 3. She won Rising Star and Driver of the Year awards along the way. In 2006, Susie made a big step up to compete in the Deutsche Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, or DTM, the German touring car series, which is one of the biggest championships of its kind. With a series of solid performances and tough duels, even in difficult conditions, she earned her colleagues' and competitors' respect. She ended her 5th season ahead of her brand colleagues Ralf Schumacher and Scotland's David Coulthard, who later lamented, "There are times when she's just been too fast for me." After 73 races and 7 seasons with Mercedes-Benz, Susie decided to look for new challenges and focus on her goal of driving a Formula One car. Away from the track, Susie had become an FIA Women in Motorsport ambassador and a representative of the Wings for Life Foundation, which seeks to make spinal cord injury curable. In 2012, she was appointed development driver for the Williams F1 team. She made her Formula One debut at Silverstone last October and was given a greater role in the team's race simulator for 2013. Susie was the first to get behind the wheel of Williams' latest race car when she took part in aerodynamic tests in February, and in July she made her first appearance in a full test, becoming the first female to take part in a timed Formula One session since 1992. Susie impressed as she finished just 2.2 seconds behind the world champion Sebastian Vettel. For her brother, David, who made a documentary for the BBC about this latest chapter of Susie's career, it was an emotional experience. Anyone who saw the film would be left in no doubt about Susie's ability, ambition, and commitment. Says David, "Many people have the perception that motorsport is glamorous, but behind the scenes it's actually incredibly tough, like the intense hours Susie spends in the gym training and how careful she has to be with everything she eats. As a female driver, Susie is faced with the usual cliches about her role within the sport. She never lets these things deter her. Susie races because it's in her blood, and I hope I gave people an insight to the dedication it takes and disappointments you have to cope with to achieve your dream." As Susie finds herself back in Bristol Square this evening, we leave the last words to her Director of Studies, David Marshall, who advised Susie to follow her dream. He says, "This honorary fellowship seems a very appropriate accolade for a young woman who has risen rapidly through the ranks, a young woman who made a very good decision about her future." Susie Wolff's dedication, application, and pursuit of excellence has much to teach us and inspire us. In recognition of her role as an ambassador for women in sport, Madam Chancellor, I recommend her for the award of honorary fellowship.
Madam Chancellor and Senate of the University, I'm very proud to have received the honorary fellowship here today. Mum, I told you I would get there eventually. I can remember so clearly that day when I had to make the decision whether to carry on with my degree or whether to pursue my dream of becoming a professional racing driver. And I think what it ultimately came down to was my gut feeling. I'm a person that believes in following your gut feeling. I knew it was a massive risk, but I also knew that racing was my passion and my dream was always to drive a Formula One car. It all looks very glamorous on the video, but I can assure you there was many, many tough days along the way. This year was very special for me. I had my first successful test for the Williams Formula One team, And for me, I made a big step closer to my dream of driving in Formula One. But make no qualms, I've still got a long way to go. It's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. While I'm here today, I want to say a couple of special thank yous. I hope I don't get emotional. I already got emotional watching Judy give her speech. To my parents, they were the solid foundation. They were always there behind me, supporting me. We've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly to get here this far. And also to my husband. They say that behind every successful man stands a strong woman, but beside me, I have not only a strong and successful man, but a great man. Thank you very much.
I call upon Dr. Midjur, singer-songwriter, to give an acoustic performance.
I've never played in a bathrobe before. Dear God, is there somebody out there? Is there someone to hear my prayer? I'm a simple man with simple words to say. Is there some point in asking for more? Only God is where we are today. We're lost and alone and afraid. Give me love for the lonely. Give me food for the hungry. Give me some peace in a restless world. And give me hope for the children. Give me just one worldwide religion. Give me some peace in a restless world. So dear God, can you hear me crying? A whole world crying, looking for something to say. We had it all and we threw it all away. Is there somebody watching? Somebody watching over the mess that we've made. We're lost and alone and afraid. Give me love for the lonely. Give me food for the hungry. Give me some peace in a restless world. Oh, give me hope for the children. Give me just one worldwide religion. Give me some peace in a restless world. And we need to know there's something good, though all our years of solitude go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Give me love for the lonely, food for the hungry, and peace in a restless world. Oh, give me hope for the children, one worldwide religion, and peace in a restless world. So dear God, is there somebody out there? Is there someone to hear my prayer? with you until feeling it's gonna leave you and die. It means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. Oh, beginner. The music is weaving, haunting notes, pizzicato strings, a rhythm is calling. Alone in the night as the daylight brings a cool empty silence. The warmth of your hand in a cold gray sky, it fades to the distance. The image is gonna leave you and die. It means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. Oh, beginner. Feeling it's gonna leave you and die. It means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. Oh, beginner.
Thank you very much, Midge. That was quite superb. And you do suit the academic bathrobe. I call upon Dr. Catherine Granger, rower and Olympian, to present a candidate for an honorary degree.
Never thought I'd be on stage following mid-year. Thank you. Always remember this. Madam Chancellor, in the name and by the authority of the Senatus Academicus, I have the honour to present the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, Sir Steve Redgrave. Sir Steve Redgrave's stellar achievements are part Boys on Adventure and part Guinness Book of Records. He's the first Briton to win 5 Olympic gold medals. He's the first athlete to win gold medals at 5 successive Olympics. And of course, the most successful rower of all time. He's a sporting hero par excellence who needs absolutely no introduction, but really he's going to pass up on this opportunity. None of us who were at the Sydney Games in 2000 could possibly forget that magical moment when Sir Steve took his 5th gold as part of the Coxless Fours. He has said that during the race he had no doubt that they would win, while the rest of us watched with hearts in our mouths and on the edge of our seats. Such was the nationwide support for the only result we wanted. But for those of us who are privileged to be part of the British rowing team alongside him, Sir Steve is much more than an Olympic hero. He is also a mentor and a friend, living proof that nice guys can win over and over and over and over again. I consider myself incredibly lucky that we were part of the same team back in Sydney, me at my first Olympic Games, and Steve with an Olympic pedigree that stretched back to Los Angeles, 1984. Los Angeles was an explosive start to a glittering Olympic career. Trust an English knight, to take the words of Robert the Bruce, turn them on their head and give them extra legs. If at first you do succeed, then try and try again and make sure every time results in gold. And so he did. After the Los Angeles success came Seoul, Barcelona, Atlanta, and Sydney. Along the way, he even produced a few memorable quotes of his own. Although one, especially, said after victory in Atlanta, is still recalled fondly to this day by other people rather than himself. If you ever see me in a boat again, you have my permission to shoot me. How wrong that proved to be, and a nation is relieved that no one, not even his wife Anne, took out the shotgun. Sydney proved an irresistible challenge, and the rest is Olympic history. That stunning achievement puts him in the same league of superlative athletes who are Olympic legends. The track and field star Paavo Nurmi, the swimmer Mark Spitz, whose success was an inspiration to Sir Steve himself, and also Edinburgh's very own Sir Chris Hoy, who named Steve as his own inspiration. Sir Steve Redgrave had, of course, confirmed his status as the world's greatest oarsman long before the Sydney Games. Following 4 unbeaten seasons from 1993 to 1996 with Matthew Pinsent, another outstanding athlete and one of the good guys who kept on winning, Steve won his 9th World Championship gold in August 1999 in St. Catharines, Canada. The irresistible force that was the Pinsent-Redgrave combination broke both world record in the coxless pairs in 1994 and the Olympic record in Atlanta in 1996. And if at first you do succeed, then try something different. Sir Steve is one of a very few rowers to have won Olympic gold medals rowing on bow side and stroke side. His other sporting interests include golf and winter sports. And here's a useful bit of sporting trivia for the pub quiz. He also was a member of the British bobsleigh team that raced in the World Cup in Sarajevo in 1989. As you do. Well, we'd hate to see him bored. Perhaps even more impressive than Steve's extraordinary athletic performances is the fact that they were achieved against a background of serious debilitating illness. He nearly missed the Atlanta Games because of colitis, for which he still receives treatment, and in 1997 he was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. But he handled it with the same stubborn determination and resilience that defined his repeated success, stating, "Diabetes had to live with me, not me live with it." For Sir Steve, obstacles are there to be overcome, not stopped by. He constantly raised the bar, changed the standards, and broke record after record. And in doing that, he taught us all something about where the limits are, or perhaps more importantly, where they are not. An athlete of this stature deserves to be honoured, and Steve was awarded an MBE in the New Year's Honours List in 1987 and the CBE in 1997. He was appointed Vice President of the British Olympic Association in November 2000, and he is the Honorary Vice President of Diabetes UK. Sir Steve was knighted in the New Year's Honours List at the end of 2000. The same year, he won the public vote in Sports Personality of the Year in a landslide victory. But for all the endless awards, titles, and honours bestowed on Sir Steve, he remains the same Steve to those close to him. People who don't know him admire him for his success, his tenacity, and his standards. Those of us who do know him respect him for all of those things, but we also love him for his modesty, his infectious enthusiasm, his humour, and his generosity. Everybody would have understood if after nearly 2 decades at the top of a grueling sport, he wanted to relax and enjoy all that fame and success had brought him. But he quickly turned the advantages he enjoyed in retirement to a way of helping others. Since retiring, Sir Steve has focused much of his attention on setting up his own charitable trust, the Steve Redgrave Trust, which aims at raising $5 million over 5 years for children's charities after he stopped rowing. It uses the power of sport and sporting activity to bring about positive change in the lives of disadvantaged children, young people, and their communities. For me, the results achieved through the Steve Redgrave Trust and the fact that they continue to make a positive difference in people's lives are just as wonderful and important as his 5 Olympic golds. In the 2006 London Marathon, he broke the record for the most money raised by an individual, a staggering £1.8 million. And in April 2011, Sir Steve was named London Marathon's top celebrity fundraiser. I did mention he was competitive, didn't I? Sir Steve played an integral role in the successful London 2012 bid. He was a key figure in convincing the government and the Mayor of London to back the campaign, and he acted as a founding member and chairman of the bid's athletic advisory group. Personally, as someone who will treasure the memories of London 2012 forever, I'm very glad he did. Despite his many other time commitments, Sir Steve continues his close involvement with rowing, albeit in a media capacity, appearing as a regular analyst of televised rowing events while still finding time to publish 6 books. He also takes time to be a mentor, an advisor, a confidant and supporter of the current national rowing team. And let's not forget the essential role he played at London 2012 as official team hugger. The man is built like a bear. He was born to hug. His passion for sport and for helping athletes to achieve their own dreams has not faded in any way over the years. His influence has only grown along with his stature. We are incredibly lucky in British sport to enjoy the aura of some iconic names. And when they not only live up to all of your expectations, but turn out to be even more than you hoped they could be, it is especially gratifying. Sir Steve is not only a great Olympian on the strength of his staggering sporting achievement, he is also a wonderful person in his own right. He is supportive, gracious, and humble. He truly exemplifies the Olympic and Paralympic values of respect, excellence, friendship, courage, determination, equality, and inspiration. I consider myself very fortunate that in my career I've got to know Steve personally, and I can regard him as a role model, a teammate, and a friend. Because of Steve Redgrave, many people around the world, myself included, can live a little bit better and dream a little bit bigger. Sir Steve Redgrave's unfailing pursuit of excellence has much to teach us all and will continue to inspire us. Therefore, Madam Chancellor, I recommend him for the award of the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa.
Madam Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, University of Edinburgh. We've talked about emotion already, but after that dissertation from Catherine, I'm glad she's a friend and not an enemy. Edinburgh is a very, very important place for me, is that it was the turning point of my career. Even though that I was Olympic gold medalist before coming to the Commonwealth Games here in '86, is that I had a very bad World Championships the year before and decided to give the sport up. It was then that it was said that rowing was going to be in the Commonwealth Games, and I thought that, I'll just do one more race. I'll race at the Commonwealth Games, and that will be it. And so to Edinburgh I came, ended up winning 3 titles here. 2 weeks later, winning my first World Championships, and then my career didn't look back from that point. But it was so close of stopping after that 85 World Championships. If it wasn't for the Commonwealth Games, it wasn't Edinburgh choosing the sport of rowing to be a part of that, I wouldn't have got to my second, third, fourth or fifth, or the other 5 Olympics that I've been involved in other capacities. So Edinburgh is a very, very important part of my life. I also met my wife here, and so it's a very, very important part. So this honorary degree is very, very important to me. So I thank the university very much for bestowing it on me. And Catherine, thank you for those very kind words. Very emotional, but just thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Steve, for that great reply to the laureation. I now call upon Alison Walker, sports reporter, to interview you.
Yep, we're going to hear from Sir Steve again, very, very shortly. Madam Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, now it's had time to sink in a little bit for all of us and for the honorary graduates. I'm delighted to be here, a real privilege to be amongst such inspirational people. I'll go up. Oh, yes, we're level now. Catherine, would you mind popping over as well? And we'll have a chat with the 3 of you. Because your rowers are all so tall. I like this. We're going to take you back to Sydney 2000 and remind you of the final stages of that race. Catherine was there. I was lucky enough to be there as a BBC reporter. But let's take a look at it again, and maybe you can talk us through these final stages, Sir Steve. Right, what was happening now?
Hanging on for grim death is that the interviewer with Steve Ryder straight afterwards. I said that we were leading by 250 metres gone. At that point, I felt that we'd won the race. And he said, what, 250 metres to go? I said, no, 250 metres gone of the 2,000 metres that we were racing. And we felt that we were moving away from everybody at each stage. But actually, it's the crew who came fourth, Slovenia, who did the fastest last 500 of all of us. And they were pushing the Australians, they were then pushing the Italians, and then they were pushing us. I wish it was just a 2-horse race and not a 6-boat final. But really sort of digging deep and sort of hanging on. And the moment of crossing the line was just total relief. I knew that my international career was finishing at that point. Normally after a major race, that you've got this sort of feeling of elation, exhaustion, and then sort of thinking what I'm going to do next. But at this point, it was hurting. My lungs were burning, my legs were throbbing, and I was sort of bent over my oar handle at that point. And then Matthew Pinson, the stroke man, decided to get up. He's known as a bit of a lazy athlete. So his legs weren't hurting as much as the rest of us, and then walked down the boat to hug me. And I thought, what the hell is he doing? This is unbelievable. Well, Matthew and Tim rowed with each other as juniors and won a junior gold medal with each other in 1988. Tim's and Matthew's careers went in different paths at that time.
There he is.
And Matthew had to climb over Tim to get to me. Well, Tim had been dreaming about this moment of having a medal hung around his neck to that point. The moment that Matthew was climbing over him, it wasn't quite the medal that he was expecting to be hung around his neck at that time.
And what were you thinking at this point, Catherine, just as they went over the line?
To be honest, it was much, much closer towards the end. It was quite tense for everyone because, I mean, everyone expected it, everyone hoped for it, everyone was waiting for that moment. And then when it's that close at the end, it's still, I mean, I don't know, you knew it was going to happen, but just such a tense time. But it was just, I mean, I was lucky. I've spent 3 years, working, training next to all 4 of them. And they were just such an incredibly impressive crew day in, day out with Jürgen, their coach. And you just know there could only be one answer, and yet it's still about delivery on the day. And they just got it perfectly right.
And you had someone quite special giving you your gold medal, didn't you?
Yes, but the second one that the Princess Royal has given me, my Olympic gold medal. So I'm thinking about coming back to make it a hat-trick.
Tell everyone, do you right now ever see yourself in a rowing boat in any capacity?
3 Sundays ago, I went out in a boat, but it was a charity auction item and raising for money for different charities. And venture out in the boat, a trip round at Henley, back in for lunch. The lunch is the more important thing.
And for you, Catherine, how big an inspiration was it for you in your whole career? And are you going to be back?
Let's talk about Steve. It's his day. It's his day. Enormous. And we just, I think as any athlete in the rowing team at the time, you just felt so lucky. This was a guy who was already iconic by that point, even before Sydney, and when that happened, that we saw training every single day, genuinely just showing how hard you could push yourself, how much you could keep raising the bar. Both him and Matthew, they never settled, they never stopped, they never thought, well, we've reached it, we've achieved enough, and we'll just cruise. It was constant driving and pushing and stretching and learning and moving on. And I think all of us had that instilled in us. So we just felt very lucky. And to this day, you can call him up. He helped Anna and I in our Olympic week before we won our title. And, just the advice he gives. And he's been there and done it. He just speaks with such authority. And yet, the only thing we struggled with is when we talked to him about a few of his races. We're saying, what happened, when that happened, say 96? He went, we did that, then we won. And then it was like, then we were behind, then we won. And then we were ahead, and then we won. And we were like, oh no!
So you don't remember what happened in the races?
I remember every moment of almost every stroke of each one of the races, especially the first and last. But as Catherine said, that we used to go around and talk to the team and Catherine and Anna. What did we talk about of the session before the Olympics?
We talked about Steve's role in the opening ceremony,
which I was sworn to secrecy. And we also talked about David Beckham, and I pulled that one off as well.
And looking back at the race now, how do you feel about it all those years ago now? Is it kind of surreal, or are you still feeling the pain?
To me, it feels like it was just a few months away. It's unbelievable that London was over a year ago now. But the memories of those races are just like it was yesterday. The only problem is when you see the footage of it, I looked a little bit younger, maybe not so much Sydney, but the other ones, and of my children. And they've grown up a little bit now. Even my youngest is taller than me now at 15. And so I see myself as still as that young athlete, still competing, and then watching up there on the TV at the moment of seeing me, I've got, don't I look old?
Oh, inspirational, isn't he, ladies and gentlemen? Congratulations on the honour today. Thank you very much indeed to Pat. And he's still a wonderful hugger, isn't he? Thank you. We're now going to catch a word with another of our honorary graduates. Could Susie Wolff pop down and have a quick chat? And you're more my height, Susie, so we can stand down on the floor. Congratulations again. It has sunk in after a few minutes. How do you feel?
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be as emotional as it was, but seeing the video and seeing how far I've come and remembering the kind of tough moments along the way, I followed my gut feeling, and thank goodness it turned out well. But it was fantastic, and I'm very, very proud.
You touched on the importance of your family in this journey, and you were always brought up to believe you could do anything, whether you were a girl or a boy.
Completely. Many people say to me, how did you end up being in motor racing? It's a guy's world. But I think when I look back, I was incredibly lucky with my family. First of all, my mum was someone who never made me believe that I should be playing with dolls and my brother should be riding motorbikes. She always said that I should do what I enjoy, and she encouraged me. My dad supported her fully. They had a very equal relationship. And I had an older brother, and I always thought, whatever he can do, I can do.
But to get into this kind of world and get it to the level you have, I mean, you must have had some severe challenges along the way. Can you give us some idea of some of them?
it's the standard, do you have a place for your lipstick in the car, and can you reverse into the pit garage? It's all the old jokes. It's a man's world, and I think as racing drivers, men are quite egoistic. We all have to be a little egoistic as sports people because we're going out for excellence and we all want to be the best. But I say to everybody, yes, it's a man's world, but it's also my world. I've been racing since I was only 8, so the environment was never anything unusual for me. And like I said before, I think I was incredibly lucky with my husband. He helped me massively to get into Formula One. He believed in my dreams, and there's many in that F1 paddock who just don't think women belong there.
And I guess that strengthens your determination when you hear comments like, I think it was it Sterling Moss that said, women don't have the mental aptitude to drive a Formula One car.
Poor Sir Sterling Moss, he's come under so much criticism for that sentence.
Rightly so.
It was very funny because he said it, and I don't really get bothered by what people think. I'm doing what I love, and I feel very grateful that I have the job that I have. But I was in a simulator one day at the Williams factory, and someone came running in and said, there's a phone call for you at reception, you've got to come. I said, I'm not coming, I'm in the middle of a session here. It's Sir Sterling Moss, you've got to come. So I ran to the reception and I said, hello, Sir Sterling. And he said, I just wanted to apologise. I meant what I said, but I didn't mean you.
Kind of a backhanded compliment, I guess.
It was very funny, and I reiterated to him that he's an iconic man, he achieved a lot, and he shouldn't worry about apologising to me. And I think ultimately it's a generation thing. When he got in the car, he put his life on the line, and he just doesn't see that as something that women should be doing. But he wished me a lot of luck for my test, and we're great buddies.
Yeah. Not wanting to put any pressure on, 1976 was the last time we saw a woman driving in a Formula One race. You said you still got a little bit to go. Can you give us some idea of timings now?
That's $1 million question. I made a big step forward in July. Many people didn't think that, A, I would be able to do more than 10 laps because of the physical G-force. They didn't think women were strong enough. And then they didn't think I would be fast enough. And I proved both of those points wrong. So I made one big step closer. But there's only 22 spaces on the grid. There's many fantastic, quick young drivers trying to get onto that grid, and I'm in that fight. I'm not going to give up yet. I'm not going to give up until I've tried everything I can, and I hope that it will happen, but please keep your fingers crossed.
We will keep them crossed, and we will keep watching. Isn't she wonderful? Susie Wolff, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Susie. Moving from sport for a moment and dipping into the magical world of the movies, let's catch a word with Lynne Ramsay. Lynne. Well, you're my height as well. Congratulations. Still feeling quite emotional about it? I could see your eyes filling up.
It was actually much more emotional than I thought it would be, but I think when someone's given a rundown of all your achievements and you still think, oh, I've got so much more to achieve, it is much more emotional than you think it was. I think everyone felt that. So, yeah, for me it was really interesting, just even, like I was saying for the students before, like, I sat and dreamed up little dreams here, like, about taking over the world of filmmaking, which is a very male-dominated world too. And I never thought about the gender either. I just thought I wanted to be excellent in what I did. And students are watching my films now, and yet I feel like a student of film myself,
Still learning. What is it you love about what you do? Can you put it into a nutshell?
I just think I've got the best job in the world. It's like it takes every aspect of art. It's music, it's acting, it's sound, it's images, and you make a real experience. It's like going into a dream. It's like you're creating a dream, and you can move people, upset people, which I've done quite a lot with my very dark movies. But you allow people to enter another world, and I think, I'm very, self-determined when I'm behind the camera, and that can be tough for people, but I know what I want, and, it's been a struggle. It hasn't always been easy. I've had some big projects fall through, but I know that too many cooks spoil the broth, and filmmaking is like, it's a big production. There's a lot of people involved, but you have to stay in control of it as well. So, yeah, it's a really tough job in terms of the politics, but actually the filmmaking, and I know, I've really been honoured to get, it's a lot of money to make movies, to be given that opportunity is just incredible. And as a little girl, I never thought I'll end up in the director's chair. And I want to thank my mum for all those Bette Davis movies. They were very instructive, you know.
Of all the things you've done so far, what do you look back so far and say, yep, I did a good job there, I really liked that, that's how I wanted it to be?
Well, I had such a wonderful time with Seamus McGarvey, who actually he's an honorary. He also he was given the same doctorate from this university. He's a cinematographer, and I worked with him, and Tilda Swinton on We Need to Talk About Kevin in America, and that was really daunting because I'd never made a film in New York. I never made a film there. It's a different environment, and it was just it was a very dark film, but actually we were all cooking, we were jamming, we were playing music. John C. Reilly plays the guitar and bought me a guitar, so it was like a commune, you know. And I thought, my God, this is just fun, this is amazing. But probably the best experience was my first feature, which I was terrified because I'd only made, the longest I'd made was a 15-minute, almost silent short film. And then suddenly I had all this crew behind me, and I was like wandering away from the crew saying, oh, there's too many people, you know, kept moving the camera away from the crew because it was so like, I was so used to a documentary style crew, maybe 7 people. But because I had all these kids that I'd like cast from the street and who'd never acted before, it just was a wonderful experience. They were all planning how to spend their money, you know, like I'll buy a motorbike or gambling on the bus, or, you know, like it was like just these kids that didn't, you know, some of them came from really rough backgrounds and tough places, and some from Borstal even, you know, and we you know, chose these different kids, and they were given this opportunity, and just the camaraderie on that, you know, was just amazing.
And that's quite a contrast to the world I guess you're in now. So what do you make of Hollywood?
Oh, that's how many hours have you got? It's a tough place. I think, you know, there's some incredible filmmakers, American filmmakers, but the ones I really like have managed to just keep their own voice and their own identity. So I think it's like anywhere, it's who's behind you, what, you know, like who you got supporting you, and if they believe in your vision. And I think, you know, when there's a lot of money involved, everyone thinks they're a film director, so you've got maybe 20 producers who want to be a film director, you know, and that can be really frustrating. But I think it's the best films that come out of any country are always with a kind of strong single vision. And there's, you know, there's great movies made there. But yeah, it's a very political, you know, place, and you know, I think the European system kind of suits me better in some ways, or filmmakers that really have a strong voice. But you can still make it work over there. You know, just you have to have the right people behind you. Yeah.
And finally, what can we see next from Lynne Ramsay? What are you working on?
I almost like the sports people here, it's like you just want to achieve excellence in what you do, you know, and every time I make a movie I feel I learn so much more. I still feel like a student, like I said before, and it's just achieving excellence. It's just getting better and better at what you do and becoming a master, which, you know, I feel with the experience I've gained, even though I've only made three feature films so far, every time you learn something new, and it's just you know, it's like winning a gold medal in a way. It's like, I want to make the best movie that's ever been made, and that might mean different things for different people, but just to, you know, really achieve excellence in the field I've chosen, you know, for my life. Yeah.
And that's a wonderful ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, Lynne Ramsay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a quick word with Judy Murray. I'm not going to make you cry, Judy, I promise. Congratulations. And I know your mum and dad are here, and when you knew you were getting this, what was the reaction in the household?
Yeah, I think they were pretty excited, or as excited as you get when they're as old as they are. Yeah, no, I think you know, they were here with me 33 years ago when I got my degree, when obviously I was quite young, and they've been with me, you know, all the way. I think they were great sports people, and they instilled in me and my brothers a huge passion for sport, and created a lot of opportunities for us to try lots of sport when we were young, and played a lot of sports with us as a family. And I tried every sport that was available to me at school. When I came to university here, I tried sports that I'd never tried before, like volleyball, basketball, and golf. And, I just developed this whole passion just for any sport, really. And I think, when I was at school, I was convinced the whole way through school that I was going to be a PE teacher. And when I was in my last year of school, my teachers were telling me that there were no jobs in teaching and I'd be wasting my time going to be a teacher. And so I came here and I did French with business studies. And I really didn't get into teaching until after Andy was born, and I joined our local club as a volunteer. And I did my bit as the coach, the junior coach there. Took my turn as a social convener, took my turn as the president there, and that's why I kind of get the importance of sport in the community. And as some of the kids that I was working with got better and better, I realised I had to upskill my qualifications, and one thing kind of led to another. And when I had the opportunity to become the Scottish national coach, I was just so motivated to create opportunities for Scottish kids to be able to do the same things that kids in other countries were able to do. And, that meant going to tournaments down south, going to tournaments overseas, and really just making them ambitious and making them realise that actually anything's possible if you work hard. And I think that with what's happened with what Andy and Jamie have achieved, and, two kids from a little village in Dunblane winning Wimbledon titles, I think that shows all children in Scotland that actually anything is possible if you believe and dream and work hard.
Of all the things that you've been involved in, whether it's your sons or the locals, your community, what are you most proud of when you look back and you think, wow, yeah, I'm pleased with that?
I don't know. I mean, I get asked that quite a lot, and I say that the thing that I always feel really strongly about was my very first success as a coach, and it was when the Dunblane High School boys team won the Scottish Schools Championship in 1994, because at that time I was still kind of a more or less a volunteer coach, and these were just kids, nothing to do with my kids. My kids were very little at the time, but they were a bunch of 16-year-olds, and they won this thing. And for me, it was huge because it was my first real success as a kind of rookie coach. And now obviously I work at the top of the game in tennis with the British women's team, and I've lived at the top of the game with what Andy and Jamie have done. But I still get the most fun from going into schools and giving kids a chance to try tennis. Very little kids. And about 2 weeks ago, I went to a school in Bury in Manchester with Chris Hoy, and we did a good old-fashioned sports day, and we did every single child in the school from 9 o'clock till about 3:15. 400 children across the course of the day had a chance to try tennis, and I was absolutely buzzing at the end of that day. I was knackered, but I was absolutely buzzing.
Was that when you did the sack race?
Yeah, we did the sack race and the three-legged race. I mean, if you could choose somebody to do a three-legged race with, ladies, you would choose Chris Hoy, believe me.
But in Scotland, are we getting there with tennis? Are we getting there? Are things happening?
Well, I would like a lot more things to be happening. I think it is quite difficult for us to really capitalise on the excitement that's been caused over the last year or so and particularly this year from Andy winning Wimbledon, simply because we haven't got enough facilities, and we haven't got enough indoor facilities, and we haven't got enough public facilities, and we haven't got a big enough or strong enough workforce to create activity for kids to try it. So that's my big push now, is to really try and get more tennis courts in places where they currently don't exist, so that more kids and adults can try. Because for me now is like, let's make sure there's a legacy from what's been achieved.
And you travel all around the world under various guises, but you always seem to find the best cake shops. Now, where's the best cake you've had around the world? Is it in Scotland?
Do you know, actually, one of the best cakes that I've ever had are the strawberry tarts at Dunblane Golf Club. But yeah, I'm a bit of a cakeist, and it doesn't really matter where I go, I will find the best cake shops. It's very important.
That's the key, clearly the key to Andy Murray's success.
Well, he doesn't really go near cakes, and he doesn't really go near alcohol and everything like what Catherine and Susie and Steve were saying. It's all about the dedication and the discipline. And one of the disciplines is that you have to eat well, and that means, avoiding cakes and things like that. So, but for me, I always say, well, you can't fatten a thoroughbred, and I'll have as many cakes as I like.
And finally, it is all about you today, absolutely, but I think everybody would want to know how Andy is after his operation.
Well, he had an operation on his back 2 weeks ago yesterday, and the surgeon came to see him last night, and he let him go on the exercise bike, thank goodness, because he was going stir crazy, not being able to do anything for 2 weeks while the wound healed. And so he starts his rehab program today, and so fingers crossed, but the operation was successful, and hopefully he'll be back on court, well, soon.
I won't tie you down to a time. Judy Murray, thank you very much indeed. An inspirational mum, coach, and person. Judy, thank you. A round of applause for Judy, and indeed, ladies and gentlemen, a massive round of applause for all our honorary graduates here today. To hand you back to Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Alison. 4 great interviews. That was really super. It was particularly nice to see the film of Steve and to see the Chancellor on the film. And Steve observed that he'd like a hat trick from the Chancellor, and the Chancellor immediately observed, well, he just had a hat trick. And now it's an enormous pleasure to ask our Chancellor to make the concluding remarks for this very special ceremony.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think you've had quite a full afternoon, and as the Principal has just stolen, and I don't think did it nearly as well as I would have done, my best line. Especially as he'd had no previous engagement with Steve, I will keep this short. But in every respect, this is about the university, and it's a pleasure to join you as Chancellor in awarding degrees, which actually is a very enjoyable part of being Chancellor. The degrees that the universities give in terms of those the students are earning is, I suppose, the internal success of a university. The honorary degrees are the more sort of outward-looking degrees, where you look around at people who you believe have made a contribution. And the range of people we have honoured today underline the fact that contributions can be made at all levels, and it's really important to remember those and where they started, to recognise just how much has been achieved. And it was nice to be reminded that Steve has, I managed to give him 2 of his medals, and I think the first one was in Seoul. I won't tell you, well, no, I will tell you, but, and you notice how articulate he is now. It wasn't then. But I was going to say that was medals are one thing, and getting them over the next at moments like that is very nice. But to have the opportunity to ruffle his hair with the leftover of John Knox's breeches, it's different, and is indeed a hat trick. But I will move on, because all of our honorary graduates today, I could actually add a little bit too, because of their lives and what they have contributed. It's tempting to make an added comment, but I won't, because I think what has been said about them underlines the real value that they've added all the way through their lives, through their achievements, and continue to do so. Being here as Chancellor and in Edinburgh today, I've also had an opportunity to broaden my knowledge a bit about what the university achieves in its day-to-day work. And it's a wide range, and it's a very high standard. to spend the morning at the Anne Rowling Regenerative Neurology Clinic. Not the first time that I have met many of those people, but just a huge encouragement to see the advances being made, to meet some of those patients who've been such an important part of that groundbreaking research, and the bravery and the commitment of those who've been involved. So at science at the highest level. And secondly, at the Edinburgh Centre for Carbon Innovation, again, a different collaboration, but again, of bringing together a multidisciplinary team in a new science to find ways of understanding what are the best answers in terms of carbon innovation for everybody, not just for those at the top. And to move on from the science to the divinity at New College, an essential part of this university in its history, and to be reminded of that. You might be interested to know that, of course, the carbon innovation does strike you as something very modern and possibly a modern building. It isn't. It's in one of the oldest buildings in Edinburgh University, but it will be one of the most sustainable and the most efficient. That's taking from history and turning it into a future. It's important that universities can do that, and a university with the history of Edinburgh can use that as a strength to move forward and contribute to that future. And it's also important to remember the people at the back of the university, the academic staff, and those who make it possible for students to learn. And the Chancellor's Awards do that for those who have excelled in teaching and in research, but also in the Rising Star Award for the early careers. As it happened, that winner is also lecturing on astrophysics, but it was called the Rising Star before she got the award, honest. That wasn't her idea. But all those three individuals underline the quality of what is here at university, which lays the foundation for what the students expect and enjoy, and I think gives that real sense of pride which everyone feels in being part of the University of Edinburgh. I'm fortunate that I've recently taken on the Chancellorship. My father, of course, did it for a long time, and I know that there was a great deal of pride in that feeling of the university gave, and he knew a great deal about its history and its contribution, and would be enormously pleased to see its continuing improvements. And this sense of belonging and shared experience and history really does, I think, help to create that inspiring environment, and in a place where ideas are formed and nurtured, and where great things can and will be achieved. We've been celebrating that today. It's for our honour graduates, but also for the university. I hope that you have been able to enjoy this event and feel that it is an appropriate one for a university of the standing of Edinburgh to do, and that we've done it well. Enjoy this evening. Thank you for coming and joining us. And a huge thank you to our honorary graduates for what they have achieved and the example they set. And we look forward to seeing them in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Chancellor. We're going to be piped out of the ceremony, so please rise and welcome our piper.
This production is brought to you by the University of Edinburgh.